What's going on, you guys? It's time for another episode of Listen Closely, and today we're going to be concluding our mini-series on extraterrestrials with an individual and yet a group known as Lord Ashtar Sheran and the Ashtar Command. Now, before we go into Lord Ashtar, what exactly is the Ashtar Command? The Ashtar Command is basically a group of elite extraterrestrials. They are benevolent and they're part of the Galactic Federation of Light. You can basically think of them as sort of the Marine Corps or the Airborne Division, putting it in the simplest terms possible, of the Galactic Federation. Now, the purpose of the Ashtar Command is they go from planet to planet to planet and they attempt to basically put out fires. They try to help civilizations along, and when they see something going wrong on a planetary level or on a cultural level, they try to assist so that that culture does not fall into decay and destroy itself. Now, Earth is one of the Ashtar Command's lesser pit stops. They have been involved in matters on Earth for a long time. They became really concerned with matters on Earth around the time of the first nuclear bomb detonation. And basically, to sum up what kind of an alien or extraterrestrial would be in the Ashtar Command, these are extraterrestrials that have gone through countless reincarnation cycles. Members of the... You can't just be an alien and say, I want to join the Ashtar Command. There has to be a level of growth within the individual alien on a spiritual level, and that growth usually takes countless lifetimes, countless incarnation cycles, and basically you're reaching a point where you're basically gaining a level of what we call ascended mastery. The aliens of the Ashtar Command, are typically separated from ego. They don't do the deeds that they do because they feel entitled to do so. They do them because they want to do it, and they do it out of servitude. It's not an issue of pride or vanity or anything like that. It's total service to other beings. And usually these beings in the Ashtar Command, they have been countless different extraterrestrials, including human beings. So they have the experience of all these different lifetimes, of all these different cultures that they can fall back on to assist in lesser developed species. Now, Lord Ashtar himself is the leader of the Ashtar Command. Now, Ashtar, what's interesting about this group is nobody wants to be the leader. Ashtar is the leader basically because he feels he has to and has something to offer, I guess, in terms of his level of experience. What's interesting about Lord Ashtar is this individual being, when he has contacted, or human beings that have encountered Ashtar in either meditation or the dream state, or during channeling, if you're a medium, most people have been confused, or a lot of people have been confused when they encounter Lord Ashtar, because he doesn't come across as an extraterrestrial. A lot of people who have encountered Ashtar or who have spoken with him typically say that he reminds them of an angelic being, or of a being similar to Jesus. He's even been sometimes misinterpreted as Jesus's brother. This is basically a very advanced being, an ascended master. Ashtar is definitely an ascended master. I would say the other members of the Ashtar Command are close to ascended mastery, but Ashtar has reached that ascended mastery level. And basically, this is not it's very confusing with him because so many people consider him to be a divine being. And so they'll do things like pray to him and all sorts of other stuff. And he's still an extraterrestrial, even though he comes across as a divine being. And you can't be praying. He's basically not someone who you can pray to or ask for help or guidance from. He is a being, he's just a being like any other, but he's just a higher being. And if you need prayer, there are actual beings, within the spirit realm who that's their job to answer prayers. But his job is to help lesser developed species grow. And that's the job of the Ashtar Command. Now, what's interesting is on November 13th of 2018, I got some information regarding Lord Ashtar and the Ashtar Command. And if anybody remembers, back in November, we had the 2018 midterm elections. And there was the recount effort going on in Florida. Broward County, the whole recount thing that was going on, for those of you who follow American politics. And the message that I had received, and this came from Spirit, not from the Ashtar Command or anything. The message I got from Spirit was that the Ashtar Command was actively involved in stopping the theft of the Florida election, which was interesting. I never would have thought that they were involved in that, or that there were any aliens involved in that. But according to the spirit realm, the Ashtar Command got involved. To what extent, I don't know, but they got involved in the recount election in Florida because the Democratic Party was actively trying to steal that election, and they were working to thwart that. Now, it should be noted, I want to kind of talk about involvement, because alien involvement is a lot like spiritual involvement in terms of human affairs. Usually when it comes to spirit doesn't usually directly intervene in the affairs or the lives of individuals unless they are called upon by that individual for help. And even when that does happen, when somebody does pray for help, usually the motto of Spirit and of angels is to, you're here in this life to learn. You're here in this life to grow. That's the meaning of life, is growth. So you're here to learn and to grow. You have an outline that was created for your life, for this present incarnation, and you're here to learn. And it's your responsibility to learn the lessons that are set before you that you need to learn. However, when you pray and you ask for help from your angels and your spirit guides, they will assist you. As long as you're willing to push the gas pedal, they will assist you in helping you to achieve your goals. And this even happens when you're in trouble, when you're dealing with financial issues, health issues, marital issues, relationships. If you ask for help, they will assist you. Now, sometimes they do directly intervene, but those times are rare, and they usually occur when, usually a person's life is in danger and their life is not supposed to end at that point in time. That's one scenario. There are other scenarios where they can directly intervene too. But it's the same philosophy when it comes to extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials, like the Ashtar Command, they're not going to directly intervene, but they will assist humanity in achieving certain goals. And in this case, there was active pushback in Florida to stop the recount, well, not the recount, but basically the cheating that was going on. I mean, Broward County, this is not the first hurrah that that county has tried to steal elections. And so the Republican Party pushed back, and so the Ashtar Command was acting, I guess, in a support role to help and assist in stopping the stealing of that election. Very interesting. I would have never thought that, but I wanted to throw that out there because that was a message I got November 13th, during meditation. Very interesting. But that's about it with the Ashtar Command. The whole reason for this entire segment on extraterrestrials is that, I mostly keep a spiritualism channel, but I felt it was necessary to talk about this subject because personally, these different alien groups have played a bigger role in our spiritual development than we think. I mean, even if you look at examples in the Bible, I mean, you have the Book of Enoch, which is littered with extraterrestrial, segments in it, mentions of things like flying chariots. You have Ezekiel, who in one of the, I don't remember which scripture it was, but Ezekiel speaks of a flying disc that comes down and lands, opens up, and 4 beings come out. The ancient Hebrews talk about the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. So there are examples throughout the Bible and throughout ancient literature, not just Christianity, but of all the different ancient cultures, of these strange occurrences where you have these beings using mechanical ships to come down to Earth, and they act as messengers, and they pretty much help to build the foundation for the religions of the world. That's not to say that, there aren't actual, I'm not saying that everything was ETs, I believe that spirit and angels did play a role in the ancient world as well, but I do believe if you read the scriptures, I mean, some of that stuff just hits you flat out. I mean, anyone reading it can say, well, that sounds like a UFO. That doesn't sound, or it sounds like aliens. It doesn't sound like something that God would do, or angels or spirits. So I think it's important to, bring this up. And another interesting thing I was reading about was, and it kind of supports my theory, is there is a location in the Middle East called Mount St. Herman. And this is a mountain in which several biblical things happened. You had the 200 fallen angels descending to earth in the book of Enoch, and they descend on Mount St. Herman. And then you also have the transfiguration of Jesus, where Jesus transforms into a radiant altered state and is seen to be conversing with Moses and the prophet Elijah. So all these biblical things happen on Mount St. Herman. And what's interesting about this, and I'm not someone who believes in coincidences, but if you take Mount St. Herman and you draw the exact geographic polar opposite of Mount St. Herman, guess where you end up? You end up in Roswell, New Mexico. So I find it kind of ironic that one of these major locations for all these biblical events, the exact geographic polar opposite of Mount St. Herman, is Roswell, New Mexico. And if you read anything about fallen angels, you'll know that fallen angels are kind of very big on how they show up, what they do, and how they do it. So, assuming that, maybe the Roswell aliens were gray aliens, and the small grays, as I mentioned in a previous video, were basically a product. Who's to say that somebody didn't send these grays to Earth to be sacrificed to send a message? It's just a theory I'm throwing out there, but I personally believe that, there is a greater connection between ETs and religion than we know. And how deep that goes, I don't know. I don't have the whole picture myself, but that's been the purpose of this mini-series. Now, we're going to start talking and going into back into spiritualism in future videos. I am planning on doing a video on meditation. I think that's a very important thing to learn, because meditation is the gateway if anybody wants to get messages from the spirit realm. Meditation is the gateway to how you do it. Meditation is a mental exercise that focuses on opening up the third eye, the third chakra point. And once you begin to work on that chakra point, the third eye, you start to receive messages from spirit. And even if you're not interested in receiving messages from spirit, one of the other, I think it goes without saying, the medical implications of meditation and how it benefits not only the mind, but it benefits the physical body as well. So we're going to go over in probably the next video meditation. I'm going to talk about how you can, or how you do meditation. And I'm going to give some tools on things that can assist you in learning to meditate and becoming better equipped at that. So that's going to be in a future video. But until that time, that's about all.